It is the Final Word Cricket podcast. Adam Collins and Jeff Lemon with you in New York. Not New York City. I saw on the television coverage of the game we were doing today that there were shots of Manhattan. It's not quite that. We're in Long Island. And it's going to be reflected.
We're on Long Island.
On Long Island. Because we've already got the Long Island accent straight into the show.
Right.
We'll come to that in a sec. It's season 16, episode 18. We're recording on the 3rd of June. My dad's birthday. Happy birthday, Dad. I spoke to him at about 2:30 in the morning when realising when I woke up in the morning he would almost certainly be asleep. We have got a couple of Americans with us for segment one.
Happy birthday, Daryl. Daryl, it's your birthday.
All of that. We've decided to start the show. We were going to do this in segment 2, but we don't want to keep people for a long time. A regular guest of the show, Bryan R. Caine, and Bryan has been on and told us his amazing story in cricket. He's working for the ICC over the next few days here in New York. And Michael Leboff, Mike, who's from the New York Post. We welcome you both. We'll start with you, Mike. You're legitimately a local. You grew up, around the corner from here, yeah?
Yep, yeah, we could talk and be there 10 minutes from here. This park, it's bizarre to me that this is happening still. Like, I don't know if it's all real, because this is just like a community park that we're in, right? Like you said, we're not in Manhattan. We're not even close to Manhattan. It's a 45-minute train ride, and you can't see anything. I was here with my daughter yesterday. She was running around, and now there's world-class cricket. So it's bizarre to be here. My friends can't really wrap their mind around it. They don't really watch it. But it's crazy that this stadium was erected in a matter of months. There was nothing here. Some golf courses over there, right over. I think the South Stand is a miniature golf course that I played on my whole life, and it's bizarre, surreal. There's so many different words to explain it, and I don't think people on Long Island still understand what's going on, which is crazy. Like, I was in a town yesterday, and there were some players from the Indian team walking around, and you have a bunch of India fans who are swarming them, trying to get pictures, and then right next to them is people in a cafe who this is happening right behind them. There's some bushes there. This whole scene is just developing, and they just don't even notice it because nobody really understands what is happening here. It's almost as if an alien ship has just landed in the middle of a park. But it's awesome. I'm having a blast already.
It felt that way this morning when we were trying to get in as well, like we were penetrating the mainframe of some enormous government lab or something like that. You and Bryan actually share a bit of background in how you got into cricket yourself, but with your own story about how you found the game and whether you think that what we're putting on here this week as a sport, what's happening here in New York, will lead to more people who don't come from maybe the subcontinental diaspora or aren't Aussie expats or English expats, people more like you who have found the game organically, whether this won't actually have that effect?
I'm skeptical. I'm hopeful but skeptical. For me, it was like curiosity. I watched the sport. I was trying to figure out the rules forever, and I finally did. And if we're honest, like, cricket has a really steep learning curve, not just the rules, but also the culture and everything. And if you're just... The terminology, yeah. I mean, gully and off leg, stump, and all sorts of stuff. You guys say the word wicket for like 8 different things, right? Like, there's a wicket. That stuff is hard to grasp. But so you really need to kind of put in the hours, which I'm sure Bryan will be able to tell you a better story about because he has actually legitimately done that. But so what's happening here, I think, is great for, like you said, the diaspora, expats, people who are maybe vacationing in New York. But until cricket kind of gets in at a ground level, and I don't want to use the word educate, but like you need that before people start to come here on their own. Except for I've got some friends coming Friday who are coming because they just want to see it, right? Like, it's just a curiosity, back to that alien thing, like, alien ship landed, let's go see the alien ship, rather than I want to go watch it because I'm a cricket fan. So you hope that maybe it has some sort of lasting effect, but until they start putting cricket into like schools and colleges, even elementary and grassroots stuff, like all those cliche things about growing the game in other sports.
The Woolworths Blast, Long Island, it's coming soon.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, for me, it's great. Selfishly, I feel like this has almost been like put on just for me, given that I'm a proud Long Islander and I love cricket. But hopefully, the effect is more wide-reaching than just people like me.
I said that you and Bryan have a similar story. Like, Bryan found cricket through footy, which I love about your story. Like,
cricket is footy.
Cricket is footy, and footy is cricket. But I think when we first met, I misunderstood your story a little bit. I assumed you must have spent some time in Australia, but you were playing Aussie rules in America, and one thing led to another, and suddenly you're a cricket person. Now, a lot of our listeners will know how successful you've been in the caper umpiring. Just bring us up to speed, because we've been saying for years now that we are going to be cheering you all the way to the ICC Elite Panel, and we can't wait to the day when you are umpiring international cricket. But where is your story up to on that front?
Thanks again for having me. I feel like I've been way too privileged to be on the show as many times as I have, but I appreciate everyone at The Final Word who is, interested in keeping up with it. We've come a long way since the last time we talked. I did a bunch of pop-up T20 franchise tournaments last year. They're springing up all over the country. That includes minor league cricket, which is the JV version of Major League Cricket that we hope will continue to grow over the years. And at this time of year, it's club cricket season here. So since the beginning of April, when the club cricket season has started here, I've already done more than 50 games on the year.
You've done 50 games since April?
Already since April into this part of the year. I stream all of my club cricket games that I do in New York live on Saturdays and Sundays. You can watch me on TikTok, all these sorts of things. So, the cricket has come
Billy
a long way.
Bowden ain't got shit. As far as drawing a bit of spotlight, Bryan is where it's at.
Well, it seems to me that there was a gap in the media presentation of umpires.
Yep.
Shows like this one are really good about making sure that they're in touch with the umpires, knowing what's going on with the playing conditions over the years and how the game is changing from that side.
And I think trying to avoid just getting stuck into umpires as well. A lot of sports media stuff, it's a real easy thing to do is be like, here's this decision that was wrong. You can criticize the decisions, but you don't need to be laying into the officials who are trying to make the right call, right?
Especially in this country where treating umpires in baseball they're the worst people on the planet is literally part of the game. Baseball managers walk out and scream in the face of baseball umpires, and that is not what cricket's culture and tradition is like at all. So I saw a gap where it looks like Americans could be educated on the game and educated on what it's like to go to a game, what it's like to play a game, and from my perspective, what it's like if you want to get involved as an official. So why not run a bit of media on my own from my side of the game as well, so that people can learn a lot more.
And your TikTok successes morphed into getting gigs around the world doing social media as well. I mean, kind of about umpiring and your little explainers of what you were doing a video about how you get to this stadium at one point as well, things like that.
I wish I'd watched that before I came in this morning and spent 7 hours trying to get in.
Jeff and I had a lovely time. We took a beautiful 1.5 mile walk, I'd say, to go from where we were to where we were supposed to be. And the Nassau County Police Department has made themselves known to us several times, either to tell us, yeah, sure, go that way, only for their colleagues to tell us to turn back around and come the other way.
His little roller suitcase, leave it there, leave that there. And they had horses and they had dogs coming in and sniffing it and stuff.
Is that something you kind of identify with, Mike, locally, that there's a heavy-handed law enforcement? I mean, for the next week that we're here, that we should be sort of expecting that people that come to this stadium to have that kind of energy?
Or you're at your local park and suddenly there are guys with TAC machine guns and heavy flak vests wandering around.
Well, I mean, you're in Penn Station, you see that. We're almost kind of numb to it at this point in New York and America, right? Like, if you're going into Penn Station on rush hour to go to work, that's the presence that's there. And here, I think what it is it's a very much. I was saying this to my friends before the tournament. I think there's two different communities that are completely underestimating one another here, right? Nassau County, I don't think that they grasp just how big, and not just talking about the politicians or the cops, but everybody in the county itself don't grasp how big cricket is around the world because it's so foreign to us. And then on the other side, I think maybe the powers that be at the tournament are underestimating just how logistically challenging this tournament could be because it's not in New York City. You can't. This place isn't built to host a tournament that's going to see thousands and thousands of people come in and out. So I think that their approach to me, I wasn't thrown off by it at all because I've seen it before in American sporting events all the time. But I was watching other people do what you guys did, trying to shaking it off. But I think they're taking the approach of zero tolerance. We don't better be safe than sorry kind of thing. And these kind of two communities aren't really meeting in the middle at all. So there's going to be a lot of that for the next week. You get used to it.
Yeah, it's one of those weird ones where, from my perspective, more police makes me feel less safe because people people tend to end up getting shot by cops more than they do by anyone else.
Just give a smile and a nod and be nice. They'll be courteous right back to you. That's the way to go about with anybody here, I think, because nobody knows where anyone is coming from. That's the thing, right? So like.
It's a genuine clash of cultures.
Yes, exactly. Perfectly put, right? And as long as you smile, nice, polite, nobody's going to give you problems. People on Long Island we do have like an inherent attitude, maybe a chip on our shoulder because, the city's over there, everyone just goes to the city. But if you're genuinely interested in the island and being on the island, I think people it'll make your experience just like a lot better as a person. You'll learn a few things.
You've done a great job even today to telling us that story. I think we and my colleagues have been thinking, well, we will live around here for the next 10 days, but we will tilt west. We will be towards Brooklyn and Manhattan, and I'm sure that's part of it. Of course, it's part of it, but you want to make sure that Long Island is actually represented and respected in all of this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm a born and raised proud Long Islander. I'm gonna probably die here. My wife's from Massachusetts. I got her to move here. I ran for mayor in my hometown. Like I love Long. Oh yeah. They tried to move the New York Islanders about a decade ago, and I was like trying to find a way to make sure that didn't happen. I lost. But
do you know the history of the Long Island iced tea?
I don't know a thing about the Long. I've had them, and I hate them. Like
I just wondered if it was like in schools or something. If you got taught.
I don't think so. I think it's got much more of like a golf backstory than anything else.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I love Long Island. There's so many things to do here. Right? We got the beach. So directly south from here, you hop on the Parkway. You can go to Jones Beach or Long Beach or whatever. Amazing restaurants and bars. The best pizza in the world. Best bagels in the world here. Best hockey team in the world is on Long Island. So like,
I love that your hockey podcast is called Islander Anxiety.
Yeah.
Kind of sums up a lot of sports
we're little,
fans' feelings.
Little brother already. Like, so we are a podcast about what it's like to live and die with a team in your backyard, like the Islanders are. But yeah, I'm really happy. It sounded like people up in the media contingent were interested in like learning a little bit about the island, and that's what I want to hear. Brooklyn's great, but you can get to Brooklyn whenever you want. The city's great, you can get to the city whenever you want. You're going to be on Long Island once in your life, probably.
I just want to drill down to the local cricket, really. And Brian, you might have a good handle on this officiating in the local leagues, even if you don't come out quite this far. But we hear that the reason this site was chosen was because this is the epicenter or the middle of the Indian diaspora community in New York. So that must mean, I assume, there's heaps of cricket out here too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's quite a bit of cricket here in Eisenhower Park. It is really the hub in this section of Long Island for New York club cricket. I'm based in New York City itself, and we have also quite a large contingent of fields in Van Cortlandt Park in the Bronx. That was the original site that was chosen for this stadium, and then the local community got together and decided that it was going to cause, to their mind and in their opinion, cause a bit too much interruption to the neighborhood and also to local cricket. So the big reason that we cited as a reason why we didn't necessarily want the stadium in the Bronx is because there's 10 local cricket pitches there, and 4 or 5 of them would have been taken up by this stadium, and we would have lost a large hub for local cricket. And so after that happened, the decision was then made, I guess through government and other connections, that it was then going to move out here. But Van Cortlandt Park and places
what I hear was basically made on Google Maps. They were like, where is some open green space where we can try to make this happen? And this was the closest.
Well, this is a really hard section of the planet to find a plot of land that is open and green and inexpensive enough to put up a stadium like this. And the people of the Bronx didn't want it, and we're really happy that the people of Long Island did.
Would have been a lot easier if there were subway lines running to the cricket, though, wouldn't it?
That would be nice if there was a subway line running here. Yeah, since I'm based in New York City proper, I generally get sent to cricket matches within the city because I am carless, and they know that I can get anywhere on a local New York City bus or train. So yeah, we make it work. Yeah.
What's the idea here, Mike, when the tournament's over? What will happen to this space?
Oh, they're just going to take it down and it'll look like this ground that we're sitting on right now, basically. I think there were some fields here. It's just going to become a park again.
Okay.
And what Brian was saying was funny because when they moved the T20 World Cup from the Bronx to Long Island, it kind of just sprouted out of nowhere. There was no like rumblings about it at all. It's just they're like, oh, by the way, this is happening at Eisenhower Park this coming week, and there was no context at all. Nassau County politics are notorious for being, boys in the back room kind of stuff.
Okay.
And so we're wondering like what kind of happened to get it here. And it's going to be quite the scene on Sunday because we're in the middle of Long Island, right? Like right in the middle of a bunch of major roads that are being shut down. And Sunday for India, Pakistan, there's going to be so many high school graduation parties and like communion parties on Sunday after. Like this is the second weekend in June.
Right.
It's a huge weekend for families to like go to the beach, go to picnics, go have communions and graduation parties. And all these roads are going to be closed. So it's just going to be, I don't know who I'd be more afraid of, honestly, is like, a bad actor or like a suburban Long Island mom who's now late to her, communion party. Like I know a lot of suburban Long Island moms. They're going to be really mad on Sunday because I don't think that they genuinely understand how this is all working. And they're going to be trying to get their kids to soccer or get their kids to their communion parties or graduation parties. And they're not going to be able to. And you guys are talking about the cops, right? Like they're not going to be allowed through just because they're like, well, I'm from here. So that's going to be something I'm in a weird way looking forward to hearing and seeing about. All the local moms and like Facebook groups popping off about the cricket, and I'm sure that there's going to be some bad things said, and but it'll be quite a chaotic scene. I'm really excited for that kind of stuff.
So how recent and it was your entree into cricket, and what got you into it? What got you interested?
I'm probably like 8 years or so into it, and like I said, it started as a curiosity of just trying to figure out the rules. I kind of gave up on the NFL. I loved the NFL growing up, and then I just fell out of love with it. I think it's a pretty terrible product, and it tries to take over like every aspect of their fans' lives. And I saw the New York Giants win a couple of Super Bowls, and I was like, it's not going to get better than that. So and that just left so like a huge gap of sports fandom in my life, and rather than just like apply something else to it, I was like, I'm going to try to learn about cricket, and that kind of backwardsly, like cricket led me to AFL, and I've spent a lot of my time now watching these two sports along with like hockey and soccer rather than basketball or football. And then the biggest moment for me was when the test came out on Amazon, because that actually like it simplified things a little bit more than I think. Trying to just like learn from if me and you just met and you were explaining the rules to me, like in a weird way that kind of watered everything down a little bit for me to like get like a first step into it and figure out what these people are saying when they say these weird words I've never heard of. They're still talking English, but there's a different language. And then from there I just fell in love with it. I had an aha moment. I always say to my friends, like, I love test cricket. It reminds me of like just a lawsuit playing out on grass, which I think is just like an insane thing to do, to spend your whole day just watching these guys try to follow the rules better. And whoever's like left standing at the end of 5 days wins, and they're also like everyone's just tired and sweaty and beaten down, and then they gotta go do it again in a couple days. Like it's such a bizarre thing. It's a silly sport, and I like that. Like that's what sports are supposed to be. They're not supposed to be like life and death. Like it's just supposed to be kind of funny.
Have you sort of seen fit to come over and watch cricket in other parts of the world? Has your fandom stretched that far as yet?
Yeah. My sports bucket list, like I went to the World Darts Championship in London. That was number one on my sports bucket list for quite a long time. And
around the corner from my house.
Yeah, yep. And then number 2 on my bucket list now is to get over to the Ashes, whether it's in England or in Australia, and spend some like actual time there. My wife she let me go to the World Darts Championship a year after my daughter was born, and I still hear about it all the time. So I don't know how. I need to like win some money somehow to like bring her and Isla with me. Isla's named after the Islanders.
Oh, that's so good.
Of course.
And bring them over. But I that's number 1 for me right now on the bucket list.
I feel like you two, because you've not been yet, have you, Bryan? I feel like this is something we need to do to get, because you've wanted to umpire in Australia and have that experience, and over time spread your wings as an umpire to give yourself more of an opportunity to be in front of people that make decisions and could help accelerate your career. Maybe we can, tee you up for a full season or something like that.
That would be great. I think if the New York Post wants to get behind sending a couple of lads from New York over to Australia for a season, I think we could have a hell of a time.
Yeah, you got to learn about the bounce, the different behavior of the pitches. Like you've got to adjust to the conditions.
That's true. I mean, honestly, coming from New York City club cricket, which is really where I was raised on cricket, we still play on matting wickets here, or AstroTurf wickets here. There is still not a turf wicket inside of the city of New York. We're still waiting on that to happen. You have to go out to places in New Jersey or now out to here to get ourselves a turf wicket, down to Philadelphia, places like that. And the best pitches in the country are in Texas and in Florida and in North Carolina. So if I'm going there, I might as well go to Australia and learn how those pitches work, you know?
And in terms of, you just mentioned North Carolina and Texas, so you would have had a much better idea of what was going on in Major League Cricket last year. I know there was the American Premier League as well, which you were part of, was a bit of a debacle, and you documented that really nicely on social media. But from an MLC perspective, how do you think it went? What's your assessment of Season 1, the prospects of Season 2, and how might we see you involved in that tournament when it pops up later in the year?
I was and am very excited about the prospects of Major League Cricket and its little sister, Minor League Cricket. I think that Minor League Cricket is showing us how you can build a pipeline for players to reach the Major League heights without having a club structure that is structured to do that. So a lot of American cricket is not based on merit. It's who you know and who you can find your way onto a team with and which grounds you can find your way on to play with, and that's how guys have found their way into national and regional setups. And I'm hoping that as Major League Cricket grows and Minor League Cricket grows, we can see that pathway grow. I think that Major League Cricket last year was a heck of a success for a first-time thing. As you know, here in America, our sports seasons, especially in the major 4 sports, are months and months long. And I think that you need to do a bit of education with Americans to tell them how the sort of circuit of cricket works, that you spend 3 or 4 weeks in South Africa with their T20 competition, and then a couple weeks in the UAE, and then it's the Blast, and then the IPL, and then you come to the US and do Major League Cricket. So by the time
it's more like a Grand Prix tour.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So by the time you've come, or even like the tennis majors or something, by the time you've come to the season of the MLC, a bunch of cricket in context has already been happening, and we need to make sure that Americans have that context. And again, that's part of what I'm trying to do, is to share that. And this year I am happily going to be a little bit more involved in Major League than I was last year. I've been brought on to be one of the playing control team liaison officers. So I won't be on the field, I won't be making any decisions live on screen, but I'll be making sure that the international panel umpires who are going to be in Texas can get their cars on time and make sure that they know where all the seating is and make sure they know where their 4th umpire room is and stuff like that. So as a local, not a local to Texas, but a local to the American cricket landscape, I'm going to be there supporting the PCT through that.
Well, Bryan, as Jeff and I have said repeatedly, your story is inspirational, and we love that we get a chance to document it as often as we do. Mike Leboff, great to have you with us as well. I think you're going to end up being part of our world as well. My sense is now that we've had you on the show and you've given us a taster of this, I look forward to trying to watch an Islanders game with you too.
Oh man, that's your loss having me in this community. I don't know. You want me to keep me at arm's length, trust me.
All right, this has been The Final Word. We'll take a breather. On the other side of it, we've got lots to get through.